You're listening to Open for Discussion, where, man, y'all probably shouldn't have said that. It tends to happen. Let's start the show.
715 East Music Group.
Welcome to Open for Discussion, where any and everything is on the table to be discussed. I'm your host, Albert. I got my brothers from another mother. I got my boy Diddy Rowe, a.k.a. Brian. What we got today, man?
Man, assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Okay, I appreciate that one. I like that one.
So you didn't like the other ones? Yeah. So what you're saying is you have certain biases towards any other greeting that I may have that you might not be familiar with.
No, I didn't understand the last one.
So you just don't like?
No, it's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't understand it.
Wow.
I got my boy Cleek the Geek.
So you dislike it because you don't understand it. What kind of shallow-minded person are you, bro?
Oh, man.
I got my boy G-Dub.
Yo. Yeah, man. Come on, man.
You see?
Host are you?
A bigoted host. That's what he is.
Wow.
I'm really getting sick of Cleek just jumping on board, man. Really getting sick of it, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, man, fellas, man. We made it to another show, man. I'm really excited about it, and I'm really glad that I got some... We got some deep topics today that's gonna make you think. It's gonna make you come out a little bit, come out your shell a little bit with some educational thoughts. Hopefully, and again, this is a safe place. There are no stupid opinions. Again, except for when Cleet says,
yeah.
No, I'll just mess with you, man. One of the things, man, that I wanted to talk about is how are y'all feeling recently about all of the rule changes when it comes to sports, and your thoughts on do you feel like of course you may think that they're necessary, but do you think that a lot of the rule changes when it comes, especially in football, that it's becoming a softer game, and are we making our kids more soft based off of the changes and the things that's happening right now?
Of the rule changes, I think you've had rule changes such as the referees got to review scores if under 2 minutes or something like that.
All scores are reviewed.
Yeah, all scores are reviewed. So I think that's a good change because we have the technological capabilities to do so. Especially if you can, mitigate errors, human errors, which, you'll never be able to get rid of. But I think scores are important parts of the game. That's really why you play the game, to score. So, if you have the ability to review it in a quick and efficient manner, I'm all for it. You do have, a lot of the excessive force penalties. Football is a barbaric sport, period. It's vicious, and which is why, one of the reasons I get enjoyment from it. And I'll just be very honest. As far as making it softer, I think it's a fine line. I don't advocate for not striving to make the game safer. I think that's a necessary part. Whether it's refining equipment, making helmets, more protective pads, more protective. Again, that's progressing with technological advancements. I'm all in favor of it. So I think rule changes should follow, make it be more protective. But at the end of the day, it's a barbaric sport. It's vicious, and I like it for that reason.
Yeah. You hit on a lot of the points. One of the things I was going to say is the technology, the influx of analytics, and all of the just the new age technology that's available now that wasn't available back in the day. So it's infusing that into the sport, and it's causing, in a lot of ways, making it more safe. Because I think a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. So it's like, it was very barbaric. A lot of things were just like, like it was CTE, right? That was happened. That a lot of that came about because the technique, they didn't know better techniques of everything, tackling, of medical staff. Like they didn't know better techniques. So with the influx of better technology, it only makes sense that. Yeah, it may be soft compared to the way it used to be, or had that perception of it being soft. But it's really just, in my opinion, smarter,
Oh, let me interject before Wayne go. I don't think Vante's Burfict should have been suspended indefinitely. Secondarily, I'm in favor of the concussion protocol. Go ahead. I just want to get that out there.
Yeah. Okay, Vante Burfict. I don't know about suspended indefinitely, but
he's just an old school player, man.
He definitely needs to be suspended. He's not dirty. He is. I think his mindset is just a little bit different.
It'll match the new school.
Yeah, but I mean, when you were raised playing football a certain way, and then in the last 2 years they tell you to change, it's difficult.
That's my point.
But I see that side, and then I also see the side that, dude, you're getting paid millions of dollars to do your job.
Yeah, figure it out.
But anyways, as far as football as a whole, I don't know if y'all had the chance to see, like, the NCAA did a very, very in-depth, really tastefully done documentary on college football on the night that college football opened. It happened after the UM versus Florida game. They talked about like the origins of college football. They talked about the new movement with segregation, and then when segregation ended, and how that helped white institutions grow. Anyways, what they did was they really went to the origins of football, and they talked about, like, I think it was in the early 1900s, someone actually died on a football field. Mm-hmm. Right? They got hit. Because, you're talking like they're not wearing much pads at all at that point.
Yeah,
right?
Leather helmet.
Yeah,
man.
so
it
got really, really bad. And after they got hit, they started institutionalizing more ways to make the game safer so that you can still have it. The crazy thing about it is that we as a society are extremely bloodthirsty. Right? We want and we crave this a competition
right
that
MMA, man.
Is like just when people are bashing their heads in, for whatever reason, we love it. We cheer, and we look. I mean, it could be boxing, it could be football. Like just seeing these massive athletes go toe to toe, trying to hurt one another is what we want. So you'll have that argument to say, "Oh, well, it's not what it used to be." Football, what it used to be, while I thoroughly enjoyed watching it, playing it was a completely different ball game. Like, they have this penalty now called targeting, where if you are running with the crown of your head towards an individual or you are lunging towards them. At first, I was like, this is stupid. Yeah. That's what everybody does.
Hey, that was the only way. That was the way you learned to tackle.
Right. Yeah. But what I realized is there was
wrap up.
Especially, and I'm an offensive player, so receivers coming over the middle of the field, I can't see you. And like, it's funny. My dad used to play cornerback, and he was like, "Yeah, you lucky you didn't play when I played." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "Because if you're coming over the middle of the field, I'm knocking you clean out. Like, that's it. I don't care about the ball. I don't care about turnovers. Ed Reed style, Sean Taylor style,
straight up."
But in that, you had a lot more hurt players, right? You had a lot more players who were. After they left the game of football, weren't healthy, right? So I think that while I'm a huge my number one sport is football. I love football. God, I can't even express how much I love this game. But what I do care more about are the individuals that participate. And if I'm concerned about them at all, and not just my lust to see touchdowns, interceptions, and big hits, then in an effort to make the game safer, I'm going to want those things. Yeah. But if I'm just caring about, I just want to see, someone get hit. It's like, why do people go to the Delta, the Daytona 500 for the most part? Nobody likes seeing cars drive around in a circle. What do we want to see? Crashes. Yeah. That's what most people will tell you. That's why they go to these races. Like, these dudes are driving around in a circle. What's exciting about that? They barely make moves, because if you make too slight of a movement, it's going to be a crash. But when it's like, oh my God, there's a crash. So any sport that makes an effort to care more about the people participating, I'm in favor of it. So I am in favor. Now, do I feel like, oh my gosh, they're taking something out of the game? A little bit. Like, because you see a big hit on someone, and you're just like, oh, that was amazing. It's like, oh, that's a penalty. Come on. But It's like, hey, that person's going to be able to get up and go home. You know what I mean? And be with their children, as opposed to, Ryan Shazier's thing was really, really unfortunate. But it's like, dang, man, that can still happen on a football field. Mm-hmm. You don't want to see people die. You don't want to see people having not just season-ending injuries, but career-ending injuries and possible life-altering injuries, just for our own bloodlust.
Let me interject before you go, Bert. I still don't support the NFL due to the purposeful blackballing of Colin Kaepernick. # support Kaepernick. Support the movement.
Go ahead, Bert. How do you feel about Eric Reed, though? Because Eric Reed's playing. He was blackballed, too.
He's playing.
Right, but I mean, so do you feel like, there can be some additional support given, not full support, obviously, because Kaepernick is being, especially right now, like the Steelers are starting, like, I don't even know who the Steelers starting quarterback is.
He's a Bobby Boucher.
I thought if anybody would give him a workout, it would have to be the Steelers because they or the Jets. Or Jets. No, what you call it's too stubborn. Old dumb Adam Gase. But yeah, just interested to hear how you feel about Eric Reed.
No, it's personal. I'm glad that Eric Reed got an opportunity, but I still believe that Colin Kaepernick was the central figure. He was the canonizing figure of the whole movement, and of course, was amplified by the idiot president that we have. But again, he was the central figure, and a lot of times, being the central figure, you receive the brunt of whatever ramifications come, and that's what he suffered.
Yeah,
cool. Well, we're going to jump away from the NFL. Now, how do you feel about... No, I'm saying, so Brian can be involved in this one.
I was just involved. I was the first one to speak on it. What's your thoughts, bro? What are your thoughts? Do you think the game's soft?
Well, I personally do, because I was raised in the era where you go in and you thud. That was the name of the game. If you come in my direction,
still exists.
Yeah,
thudding,
but
you
can't really.
Thudding is just the
you just
that's what you were looking for. You were looking for the sound.
Yeah.
Every time a receiver come across your face, you wanted to put him on the ground and let him know this ain't where you want to be.
But see, look, this is where honestly, the moment that fact goes away, football ceases to be football. And I think that still exists. Now, a receiver coming across the middle, your job is to still destroy him. Your job is just not to use the crown of your head or lunge at his
Well, there's
head.
also rules where if the receiver is looking back at the ball, you can't lunge into them in their chest area, or you can't hit them low on their legs. You have to hit them like mid-waist, and that's just not what I was told. I was told to hit you. I'm going straight for your numbers. Wherever I hit, you better keep yourself upright.
Yeah, I think, and honestly, this is from a receiver, bro. If I'm looking back and I can't see,
it's not my problem. Thank you. Bro, you shouldn't have came in the zone
again. And the truth of the matter is, like, offense sells tickets, right?
Yes,
defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. And some of these things, like Alan Hurns, receiver for the Dolphins, and when they played the Cowboys, dude was looking back and just got. First of all, his quarterback set him up the wrong way.
Blame it on your quarterback. Don't blame me.
But but again, as soon as he got hit, he was concussed. The moment he got hit,
absolutely.
So again, if we know that concussion has long-term effects, and these things are happening around the head and neck area, I'm all for you destroying a wide receiver. I'm all for the wide receiver staying down for a couple minutes because you just knocked the bejesus out of him. What I'm not about is like this dude does not know where he is. Like he gets up and he's like, "Hi, mom." Like that.
My thing is this: did you put your pads on before you walked onto the field?
Well, that sounds like Deontay Wilder. And everybody knows that a man's head is not supposed to be hit.
Whether you like him or not,
he's insane.
He's insane. But I think, I think you should really go back and look at his documentary when he's with his daughter. He's a gentle giant. He does that to make sure he sells tickets.
Okay,
but he is speaking 100% truth.
He is. Yeah. But that dude is threatening murder.
Exactly. He's telling you that. Like, look,
everybody knows a man's head is not supposed to be hit.
That's 100% true. And my point is when you put on your shoulder pads and your thigh pads and your knee pads and you put on your helmet, you know that I have an opportunity to be really concussed.
See, what I like what Wilder's saying is he's challenging the cognitive dissonance that's alive in sports. Like, he's saying that, look, this is barbaric. Really, somebody gonna die up in here, but we don't like to believe that because we support the entertainment value over. But I'm like, when he said, I'm like, he ain't lying.
Yeah,
he is not lying.
I didn't say that he wasn't. Like, he could. All right, this year, this dude is crazy.
I watched that
Deontay
match.
Wilder is crazy. You can see it in the. You need someone crazy to be in UFC. Now, I honestly
Boxing.
like. I have boxing. Excuse me. I have a threshold of of sports. I feel like football. That threshold I'm okay with. Once we start going into really heavyweight boxing and UFC, I'd be like, ugh, I can watch highlights. I can't be watching these fights, man. That stuff is like literally.
It's
It's like
gladiator type
bro.
stuff,
It is brutal. And when
Yeah.
you hear, like, obviously your job is to knock out your opponent, right?
Yeah,
But again, your job is to knock out your opponent. You can. There are people like Deontay Wilder, I believe, and that's what makes him such a good fighter. He doesn't have the mindset of knocking out his opponent.
Murder.
He wants
trying
to
to blow your face in.
kill his opponent. So look, if you now the reporter asked the question, so he gave a direct answer. He didn't just come out and said this. So the reporter was asking him, well, what if that happens? It was like, bro, if it happens, it happens.
In the words of Ivan Drago, if he dies, he dies.
You know what you signed up for, man.
Yeah, that goes
man.
with it, bro. Yeah.
But I just think like I said, I love love the concept of football. I love being able to knock someone clean out. Love seeing not head on head, but person to person collision, somebody getting ran over. Love all of that about the game. I just would I would love to be able to have my cake and eat it too, where you can have that without someone not being able to walk after they retire.
Well, going back to my original question of, do you think that is making our kids a little bit softer? The question, part of the question I want to ask is that do you subscribe, should I say, to the every kid should play model? I think we talked about it before, but I'm not sure if we actually put it on air before. But do you subscribe
on that?
Do you subscribe to the model of every kid should be in the game? Meaning that if your kid sucks, but Johnny's gonna get he's gonna get a trophy as well, and Johnny gets to play as well, even though he didn't earn his position on the field or on the court or wherever they are at the time.
Okay,
do you subscribe to that mentality?
This is really, really easy for me. Like you cleared it up when you said, did they earn their position? I believe everyone should be given an opportunity to show their skills, talents, and abilities. Once that person and the coach, and honestly, sometimes coaches can be biased, so sometimes you need to put them in a different environment. But it's pretty easy to see. All of us have had experiences where we started something really young and we were pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see, all right, what we call natural proclivities. These are things that you have been gifted with, so you should excel in those things. I don't believe in participation trophies at all, because I believe that it completely robs the child of the experience of doing something that they are really good at. Every kid, every person on this earth is going to be really good at something. So we don't need to be encouraging marginal or what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with an M. Mediocre productivity by giving them a participation trophy just because you decided to do it. Now, what I am in favor of is giving you a completion certificate signifying fantastic job. You started something and you saw it through to the end, because that concept is important. Giving you something just because you did it, like just because you were in it and you weren't good, absolutely not. Because what are we teaching them? Oh yeah, it's okay. You're going to get a participation trophy at the end. In what arena in the world that we live in do you get a participation trophy? It does not exist at all. There are winners and there are losers. And if you're not winning in this arena, go find your arena where you can win, because it's out there. And that's something that we have to do a better job as parents of encouraging our children
I want to interject a little bit on that one. I think that there are winners, there are supporters, and then there are losers. And sometimes I think you need to figure out what you really are, because if you're not a winner, you can be a supporter of the winning team, and that will help you in society and understanding that you have a role to play. Now, if you're just a flat out loser, listen, man, you can't get on the field.
Well,
elaborate on the support. I never heard that one.
So this is what I'm talking about as far as winners and losers.
That was my own thing, man.
That's always one.
This is not always
white,
in terms of competition on a physical field or some type of sportsmanship competition. I'm just talking about in life in general.
Yeah.
If your kid, just using this example, please don't take offense. If your kid is looking up at the stars while the basketball game is going.
known.
So why is he trying to throw shade, bro?
That was not Albert, so you cannot say that I'm
just literally using an anecdotal observation, and your kid is
that's your uncle.
Yes, my nephew. Okay, looking up at the stars doing a basketball game. Okay, basketball's probably not his thing, but what is he really interested in? He's great at drawing. Right? Yeah. No, but his cousin came up to me the other day and said, he's like, we were driving in the car, and he was like, "Hey, Dad." I was like, "Hey, what's up, Nolan?" He was like, "My cousin's a great artist, right? And he's 5, right? And he understands that." Nolan knows he's not great at art already. He knows, but he knows Aiden has a proclivity in it, and he supports that, right? So that's why I can see Al's. You are a supporter, but in your arena, you can be a winner in what you're good at. There's going to be something that each individual kid is good at. Nolan loves video games. The kid will play and win video games like dude. It would have took me 10 days to do that. It took you 2. Right?
Sometimes my son waits till he can get with Nolan to finish a game. He's like, I can't do that. I need Nolan. I'm like, well, why don't you try? No, Nolan's going to show me. I need him to show me. I'm like,
so, to be able to put him in that arena and not force him to be, okay, Nolan, you got to be an artist. Aiden's drawing. He's drawing so great. You need to draw. Like, no. And that's what a lot of times our upbringing, we were forced into these go to college, you're gonna do that, you're gonna do this thing, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna
play ball,
or you're gonna play ball. It's like, look, I already said, once my kids start doing sports, I'm putting my kids in the sports that have the lowest percentage of minorities in them. Why? Because when we typically go into these sports, we dominate, right? Venus and Serena Williams, Coco Gauff, Naomi Osaka, that's just tennis. Right, we can go. There's a up and coming swimmer. There's a black dude from Colorado. He's 6'6". They said that he could be the next Michael Phelps. We have not.
What's her name? Simone.
Manuel. Simone Manuel was just on the women's swim team this past Olympics. Like, we're really good, and because we have a natural athletic ability, so I really want to support that. So I'm gonna put him in.
You mean black people have natural athletic ability?
Absolutely.
No, but I don't subscribe to that particular
but we don't
stereotype.
See, what I'm saying is, when I put them, I'm going to expose my kids, right? If they are good at it, fantastic. If not, pulling you out. You're going to be a winner in whatever you're good at, and we do not have to celebrate and say, "Oh my gosh, you did such an amazing job," when you didn't. Because your boss, when you grow up, wherever you are, they're not going to say, "Hey, you did an amazing job." They're going to say, "Hey, you didn't meet this criteria, so thank you very much for your time, and find another job."
What you got, B?
As far as young kids playing recreational sports, I'm an advocate of all kids playing. I've seen both sides of the coin. I've seen a coach who is fixated on winning. And so if you're a coach and your sole objective is winning and not developing players, you only going to play your best. The kids who are not superior will remain on the sideline. Or if you do put them in, you'll put them in tactically. Like, they'll serve one specific purpose. Like, you got 6 fouls, I need you to go hurt this person. Whenever you come in, clothesline them. And because you're not going to contribute in any other capacity.
Yeah,
so this is what we need you to do. I've actually seen this. Like, okay, so we're going to put you in the game just to get a clothesline. Now, the team going to cheer you once you do it, but are you really developing that kid? Are you really helping that kid? So I've seen that side, and I got a good friend who's a fantastic coach, and he gives a speech to the parents at the start of the season. Hey, if you want your kid to be on a team that solely focuses on winning, this ain't the team for you. Because the reality is, we have a diverse group of players here, some with superior skill set, and some who've never even touched the basketball. Mm-hmm. And so he gives an explanation as to how he will coach the season. He will try to develop the underdeveloped players, and at the same time refine those who are skilled. He was like, I won't harp on certain aspects of the game that will solely focus on winning, because I'll do a disservice to this segment, but at the same time I can't remove some responsibilities that I have to my more advanced players. So again, it's not always cut and dry, but I appreciated his approach. Now, I think some of this has to go on to the parents, just like Wayne was talking about, your proclivities. Like, some parents, you get out there and you're forcing your kid to do something, and in turn you're actually
living through the kid.
Yeah. And I think that's where a parent's responsibility is heightened. Look, don't put your kid out there, because really what you're doing, you're hindering other kids who want to be there, and you're hindering a coach in some capacities. It's different if you're trying to expose your kid to it. And again, so if you want to expose them to it, you see they don't like it, something they're absolutely not interested in. Hey, let the coach know. Hey, coach. We started, so I'm gonna keep them in, but hey, you see it just like I see it. They not interested, so do what you got to do. This is gonna be their only season plan. Yeah. So like I said, I've seen that from both angles. So like I say, early sports, I'm an advocate of it. I had a good friend who really took a heart to me once I hit high school. He was an ex-NFL player, and he was, he thought I was real good. He thought I had potential and all this stuff. We would always talk about how coaching was. He was staunch. He was like, yo, I don't believe that there should be any kids in high school who are not playing. He was like, again, you want to field on offense and defense your best players. Your best players need to be playing, but you got special teams. He was like, you got kids who are developing. They might not get in the game, but see, like that's where you need to put them in there on special teams at. He was like, because now you getting them reps, they're feeling a part of the game, not sitting out just hoping for an injury. And I was like, yo, I never thought of that. That's real good, because in high school, like, bro, y'all know the best players, you played everywhere. Offense, defense, special teams, that's just what, if you were that exceptional of a player, that's what you did. He was like, but you underutilizing these other guys. And I was like, that's a good perspective to have. So, again, I believe now once you get in that high school age, like I said, only the best going to start. Don't get it twisted. The best going to start, the best going to play, collegiately, professionally, that's how it goes. But I think, at the youth level, I think all should get a chance to play. But again, I think it takes a lot of discretion and a lot of knowledge from a coach's perspective. Yeah. Parents have responsibilities, but because like I said, I've seen both sides of the cup.
Oh, right.
So based off of what B said,
thought you had something to say. I've already went already.
The nature of I think what he said is critical, is that having that conversation up front with parents. I think parents can oftentimes be delusional, and for like. Let me be clear. I'm not disagreeing with anything that B said. I want to make sure I'm clear that participation trophies are the things that I don't want to celebrate. Yeah. Stating that, hey, everybody wins. No, I think that we went into this game.
Little League, man, they have where they don't even have scores.
Yeah, so for their basketball league, they didn't take score for their age.
And they all got trophies.
That makes me angry, dog.
But that's what I'm saying.
It makes me really angry.
I would tell Nolan on the car ride home whether he won or whether he lost, just so he was clear. Like I want to make sure that there's a distinction. You don't go into this thing just to do it and then go home.
Yeah, right? This is very even in intramurals, you got a winner and a loser.
Look, man, Herm Edwards said it best. You play to win the game.
Absolutely.
But if you are going to come in and you have a developmental age, like my kids are 5, B's kids are around the same age, Al's kids are a little bit older. But if you having that 5,
Cleet's kids about the same age too.
Cleet's kids are the same age.
You staring up at the stars in the middle of the basketball game.
Well, to be fair, my son was looking in the opposite direction different occasions during the basketball game too. Just so y'all know, I'm not just. That's why I've already stated it publicly. They're not playing. Well, Nolan's not playing basketball again because he was not interested. He wanted to score. He didn't want to do nothing else.
He's like, no, I hate it.
It's like, it's okay. We exposed.
But you exposed him to it.
You didn't like it. We're moving on to the next thing. They're in soccer right now. Not really really advanced soccer, but a little bit of just
soccer
running around.
They like it better than basketball.
Yeah. So that's going to be the level of how I treat our kids, and I love having a coach to be able to say, hey, look, guys, we're not going to be primarily focused on winning, because parents, that's where you get that pressure from. Parents are the ones that come in. It's like, oh, my baby's so good. Your child is terrible.
Yeah. First of all, the kid tripped over some air just now. Just literally fell down.
really was doing nothing. But then getting them to a point where there is a developmental plan, and for parents not to put that pressure on these recreational coaches to develop your child in this particular area. That is not their job. If you think that your child has a gift in an area, you need to go and get them specialized assistance outside of those practices so that they can get better and they can excel. If you believe that. Well, this is not just about, just going out there, oh, Ray's so good. Yeah, Ray's good in the neighborhood, but now that you put 15 pounds of pads on Ray and you actually giving him a play to run, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, Ray ain't paying attention to nothing.
You know what I mean?
Just give me the ball.
It's just different, and I think that, and I want to get back to this, that it's our job as parents to be able to see these things and support these things in those arenas. And when I mean support, I mean not just being there, but financially support. If you see that your child has a gift, invest in that gift. That gift,
Richard Williams.
Exactly.
That's it.
Right? Everything that he had went into his two daughters, and he is enjoying a hefty return on his investment. And it didn't matter the conditions. They were in Crenshaw. They were in these ridiculously ugly public tennis courts. But guess what? This girl Venus, I think she's pretty good.
They can buy Crenshaw.
They certainly can. But without that investment from Richard and what's Tiger Woods' dad's name? Earl. Without that investment from Earl, your kids don't get that. It was not just sending him off to the coach and having the coach do it.
Yeah,
we've got to take ownership in saying, we got to invest in their talent and ability. And it's not always sports, in whatever industry they are. We got to invest in their future, even if we don't see it as something that's going to be anything. I know our parents didn't see video games as a thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. And I was like, Nolan is a whiz, man.
Oh yeah. Oh, we buy games. And that's the thing. Like, we're going to keep doing it, and as long as you're interested in it and you keep your grades up in school and you're reading and you're writing, we're going to
grades. You can make $3 million.
We're going to keep.
We're going to get this guy off the mic. Can you put your mic on mute, please? I'm still going to get your education.
I was doing the Kimmel stage.
Oh, yeah. But we need to make sure that there's balance. Everybody out there,
just get them a coach. Get him a coach and let him train him on the game.
True, seriously, because that's where the return
we got
is going
EA
to be
here too. So.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a cousin who's a professional gamer. Goes by Clef the God. Dude is a monster. Monster. And also, I want to name drop the coach who I was talking about, who really gave me a new perspective. He does personal training as well. Fantastic. T. Jones, if you're in the Central Florida area, check him out.
Drop one of Clues bombs on. We don't have that.
That's probably copyright. But we can.
What's the name? Breakfast Club.
Yeah. So I think that's like it's more our jobs as parents to find those opportunities and invest in our kids so that they don't need to get participation trophies. Because if you're excelling at your field, we won't care about a participation trophy. I'm actually good at this, and it builds your confidence to be able to move forward and do other things in life.
10-4. Well, on the lines of that, I sent all of you guys on the lines of, are we making our kids soft? Still in the same genre, are we setting our kids up for a terrible future? I sent everybody a website over something that was kind of disturbing to me, that a news story that's happening over in California. And basically what's happening is that, I'll read it verbatim. California schools will no longer be able to suspend students in grades K through 8 for behavior that broadly falls under willful defiance. What that means is that if a kid is just being irate in a class, the teacher does not have the right to suspend them. So my question is, guys, what downfalls do you see happening coming from this particular issue?
So as I read the article, and maybe I missed it, but it didn't say anything about not having indoor suspension. So it was saying about sending them home. So for the context of the article, when you read the title, you're like, oh no, this is terrible. But I actually read it, and I'm like, I could see the perspective. So I knew a lot of kids growing up, they were lashing out because of their home situation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you don't have, some of them didn't have what's the word I'm looking for? Discipline at home. So then you come to a classroom, a teacher's trying to discipline you, you're lashing out, you're being disrespectful. So suspending that kid and sending them back to the environment where there's no discipline doesn't solve the problem. So I personally can understand this change, but my thoughts are, I'll need to get a little bit more information. Is there indoor suspension? Like, is there removal from the classroom? And because the whole argument is, we can't send the kid. We don't want to send the kid home where it's impacting it's impacting their education, where they're missing key moments in classroom settings where they should be learning.
Okay.
So I get that aspect of it, and I understand the change for that regard. But it's like, my whole thing that I need to do a little bit more research on is there still being discipline had within the school? And if it is, I'm all for it, because I did see the ugly side of like, I knew a couple of dudes, they were always suspended because they kept getting in fights. So it's like, when are you ever in school? You're always trying to catch up. So now your education is affected just because there's a behavioral issue. And then the solution was, go send them to one of the the behavioral schools. Yeah. And it's like it's you can't just slam every kid in there because they don't know how to interact with someone. You need to take the time to communicate with them. Now that goes into a deeper discussion. Teachers not being paid enough. Teachers being paid to babysit in the classroom. I actually did.
You did some substituting.
For a year.
You got to see it firsthand, because we know how substitutes get treated.
Yeah, these kids, and they lash out, but you'd be surprised how much they respond to discipline. So I had a lot of great stories because I came in as a disciplinary type substitute, and they were like, "Whoa, who is this guy?" And I would just,
you're not even our real teacher.
Yeah. And that now we're gonna get into. I went to certain schools. I couldn't. I just say one school here. It was like a penitentiary.
Yeah.
Okay, they had double rim basketball courts. No nets. This is a jail. Right, I was like, I'm calling roll. I'm like, some such. I ain't gonna say no names. I'm just kidding. Such and such. I'm looking at him. I'm like, that look like that's your name. I'm like, all right. Just sat down.
Just like, dumb, man.
These kids got full beards. It was I was disciplinary when I could be, but anyway, not to get off track. The point I'm making is, I'm all for it because it keeps them in an environment where they can get the help they need. A lot of times, kids are lashing out because they don't know how to respond to their environment. The environment isn't supporting the growth they need. Then you would hope they would be around professionals who went to school to give them the support they need.
That's what you hope.
So my whole thing is, I just need more information. If they are doing the indoor suspension, like I said, I sub for those classes a lot of times. There are some strategy behind that classroom setting where it's like, to get the kid back on track, and they still get to do their classwork,
right?
Which is very important. It's like, let's not let the education take a hit, for this kid that just needs a little bit more attention in that area.
The educational system and suspension. The educational system, first of all, teachers need to be paid more. Let's just go ahead and start with that. They need to be paid a lot more. Teachers probably need to come in earning a starting salary of about 6 figures. If you want to increase my taxes to do it, let me know, because I will 100% vote in favor of that. Teachers have the responsibility to educate our children. They are not babysitters. They should not be babysitters. They should be tasked with the development, again, with the support of the parents at home, with the development and the acceleration of the learning track and the growth track of our children for the rest of their lives. Suspensions. Everybody had the same people growing up. When you got suspended, in most cases, the people who got suspended, it was a vacation. Right? You had to do no school. You didn't have to do no schoolwork, or they gave you your schoolwork. They ain't do it. Right? Like, so what did the suspension actually do? It's similar to, like, in the workplace. I don't know if this guy has ever happened to you. Your job telling you to go home. Like, you're having a bad day.
Or like,
no,
like when you have administrative leave with pay.
Yeah. It's like, where is the ramification here? Right? We understand that in order to change behavior, it's a pain to pleasure motivator. If we're saying that the pain, because think about what suspension does for the parent. Like, what you got to take off of work. So who are we really penalizing here? The student or the parent? Yeah. Right? I'm not going to leave my child at home when they suspend it for 3 days. I got to now take off of work if you don't have the benefit of working from home.
Or you got to pay a babysitter.
Or you have to pay a babysitter to watch them for 3 days. What are we actually teaching this child? Like, what are we saying, especially if they don't want to be in school to begin with? No, that is not a detriment. That's not a deterrent. It's not something that's going to prevent them from repeating this activity. In most cases, I've never been suspended at all, right? In most cases, most of the people that I know, I'd say 90 to 95% of them were suspended multiple times, right? Only about 5% got suspended once, and that was just like, yeah. Why? Because suspension for those 5%, that was enough. It was like, nope, I'm good. Most people like, I could go home. Man, I get to chill at home while y'all sitting at school. I could watch cartoons because the parents are not gonna sit there and make. What are parents gonna make them do? Schoolwork? No, not happening.
Yeah,
so
it's not discipline.
It's not discipline at all. So I am in favor of it. What I think that they need to alter this with is some type of form of development to finding out, like kind of, you know, in our last episode when Brian was making Al go through therapy, they need to go through this process of learning about, like, what's causing you to do this. Why don't you want to be here? What is it that you're interested in? So that we can really help. If this is about, like, helping kids get better, then we don't just need to, like, slap a punishment on them. We need to understand why they were doing this, and more importantly, like, how can we help them? My mom has a role as like an ESC specialist right now, and that's her primary job for a lot of the kids who are failing. Like, okay, what are your goals? What do you want to do? How can we help you achieve those particular goals in your situation? How can we help you get better grades? It's not about getting straight A's. It's about helping you go from the straight D's that you got. So let's hit straight C's.
Yeah.
Right? You got a plan. You want to go to college. You
Baby
want to go
steps.
to the military. What is it that you want to do? And that helps kids way more than sending them home for suspension. So.
Yeah, I agree. Reading it, I was in favor of it. I believe that I still am, because I'm an advocate for reimagining the public school system as it currently stands in America. I think we really echo hypocrisy when we say the children are our future, but we really don't invest in them. If you don't invest in your future, you're leaving your future subject to a lack of funding, a lack of investment, which is a lack of growth. And, you know, I mean, we're setting the system up to eventually fail, and it really has been proven to fail kids that go through it. You know, I believe that a kid in K through 8, similarly what everyone else was saying, I don't think they don't benefit from suspensions. They don't. I remember I was out for a period of a week or two in 5th grade with pneumonia, and I remember coming back. I was like, dang, I'm behind.
Yeah.
And it's not like in college where I could go to my professor for office hours. I was 9, 10, however old you are in 5th grade. So I just had to kind of make do topics that I wasn't able to cover. You know, I think they gave me homework to do, but I just kind of figured it out. I couldn't go, hey, I need tutoring. I don't think I had the mental capacity at the time to be able to articulate, hey, I need tutoring. It was, I'm going to figure it out. And, you know, so I noticed deficiencies moving forward, you know, trying to recover the time that I missed and the concepts that I missed because they were building. And so having to come up with alternative ways to figure out, okay, how do we do division with multiple digits? You know, and I remember that was one of the subjects, I think it might have been 3rd grade where I missed that. And I had to come up with my own methodology of learning how to divide long digits, multiple digits. So, you know, I just remember that from a personal experience. And that was a result of being out of school, being young and not able to articulate that, hey, I'm behind, I need extra help. Just found out a way, thank God, to be able to fight through it. I believe that kids, and specifically this is for kids in K through 8, I believe that kids, especially in elementary school, they still have an innocence, especially as it relates to teachers. Like my kids, when they go to school, if their teacher tells them something, it's hard to convince them otherwise. Yeah, if they misinterpret what the teacher said, they take what the teacher says as the word. I'm like, I think I'm, you know, and so they'll come home and say something like, I think you may have misheard or misinterpreted. No, this is what she said. And so now I've got to fight to correct it. Yeah. So there's that level of innocence that children have with teachers. And I believe there's an innocence, there's an adoration that they have for schooling in those years. So to kick them out of schooling, suspend a kindergartner who's 6 years old, I think that the lasting impacts are more detrimental than we've ever realized. And so that's why I'm an advocate. I don't think that there needs to be that level of punitive discipline for these kids. There has to be discipline. Now, I don't believe that discipline should solely rest on the shoulders of the school. This is where parental involvement is critical, and then you can go deeper into the family structure and the need to ensure that families are maintained, families are together. So it's really a partnership. So again, I don't believe that discipline is squarely on the shoulders of the school, but it does beg, the question has to be brought up. Well, what happens? How are kids disciplined? I know growing up, I went to predominantly PWIs my entire K through 12 and even in university. And, say you got two students fighting in a class, teacher tells them to stop. Let's say they just loud talking back and forth, disturbing everybody else. We can't hear what the teacher's saying.
Yeah.
First thing teacher tell you to stop. And if you didn't stop, they would call an administrator. Now, once we got older, they wouldn't call an administrator. They would call the SRO officer.
Yeah, student resource officer.
Exactly. So that's where I'm like, I can see that, this is why, like Cleet said, I think we need more details because I can see this possibly invoking a greater police presence in situations if we can't, because like I said, I can see that happening, but I don't think we got all the details. I think you need more counselors, more therapists for this to be successful. Yeah. Because if I can't discipline them, a teacher has to be able to do something.
Gotta reach them.
Yeah, you got to reach them. And my mom was an educator, so she was a disciplinarian. Like Cleet was saying, like if kids did something, they send them to my mom's class. But now if she doesn't have that ability, where you gonna send the kids?
Yeah.
And so that's where you got to have therapists, you got to have counselors, because like you said, some of these kids are lashing out for reasons.
Right.
So which means it's going to take more funding, more investments in schools. So if this initiative is inadequately put into place and you don't have the resources in place, I could see it backfire. But from a conceptual standpoint, I am all for it. I do not believe that kids in K through 8 need to be suspended. I don't think they benefit from, just like everybody else was saying, in being away from school. But I do believe that, I think there are details that we're not aware of. The article, didn't give the specifics. But again, man, I'm a huge advocate of reimagining public education, and I'm an advocate for this particular initiative.
Brian's kids are, scholars. Because if I told Nolan that he was going to be home for 3 days and he didn't have to go to school, he'd jump for joy. He would literally he'd be on his iPad and is what you call it all day long. Well, that would be his thought. But cause I think he enjoys school. But
most kids do. Yeah.
His favorite part of school is computers and recess. So I know
everything. I was school today. Awesome. So I started that little thing where you ask them an open-ended question. So I'm like, what was the best thing about school today? I went outside. God,
Answer
the question.
But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly that K through 8 it doesn't make a lot of sense. It just ends up being more work on everybody else, like because that kid is now behind. The parent has to take off of work, and is the student really being disciplined? Are we helping the student by sending them home?
You're taking them out of an educational environment into an environment where they go and rest and live.
Yeah.
So
they're gonna be in the bed all day. Like, what? Am I really gonna teach you more than your teacher is teaching you? No. Am I going to teach at the level that your teacher is teaching you? No.
Matter of fact, I probably don't even know what y'all going over.
I have no understanding of this.
And one of the things that I've been made aware of since my kids are in school, the processes where which they learn things are different. So I have ways. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I remember, I'm trying to help my daughter. I'm like, I got to step back because I'm like, wait a minute, I need to understand how you're being taught at school so I can teach you the same here, because I don't want to teach something that's contradicting what you're learning. You'll get the same results, but I know it'll confuse my kid. Yeah. So that's why, I'm trying to be proactive and see how y'all learning this. Let me go back in the review. Okay, this is how you're doing. Okay, so now this is how I have to do it. Again, a kid at home, most parents, you have to work.
Yep.
So some parents can't even take off. So you might be trying to navigate, trying to find somebody to keep them. Hopefully the grandma's available or somebody else. And in some cases, hey, I'm gonna lock the door. Don't open it for nobody.
Don't do it.
Some food right here.
Talk about a safety issue,
man.
Golly. Yeah. Well, I just realized if Nolan ever gets suspended, which he will not in Jesus' name, he's going to Megan for those 3 days or 5 days or whatever. He's going to Megan.
Drop one of clues.
Oh boy,
Megan,
we will be okay.
At Prodigy Academy, I will give her a full shout out.
Shout out to Prodigy Academy.
Listen, I sometimes just threaten with Megan for. I'm gonna call Miss Megan. Oh please.
right. Now, Megan don't play no games, man.
Nope. And she's a fantastic educator.
She's an amazing educator. I think my opinion on it is that I agree with it. Because of the fact that a lot of stuff that you do as a young individual, you carry into you carry up into your teenage years and into your adult life. So if you see, as y'all were saying, if you see suspension as a vacation, you don't see any problem with it once you get to high school. Yeah. So I think it is very important that K through 8, you kind of find other ways to discipline those kids, whether it's, hey, you got to stay, here and clean up the whole day. Or, as you go through your lessons, we're going to have you, do this and you got to write a 5-page essay or something like that of that nature. But I definitely feel like it should not be, you should definitely not have kids suspended and putting that pressure on parents to now watch them, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing during that time. And speaking of that, as far as, from, taking something from when you were a child up into your older ages, I feel like history as a whole, has the tendency to repeat itself. You have situations in your life where you, like fashion. Fashion has, we started off with bell bottoms, and, there was a time in the 2000s where, women were predominantly wearing, tight jeans with a flared out bottom, the flared out bottom of the pants. Hairstyles, you can see now, back in the days, I don't know, Brian, you ever had a flat top, man?
Flat.
Heck yeah.
No,
with a fade.
Wow.
What?
Never had a flat top.
You never had a flat top, man?
Yeah, the ramp.
Never had one.
Yeah.
I had the fade. I never had the fade.
You ever had a step?
Well, we had more of a ramp because, I ain't had it just straight flat like kid.
Yeah.
Didn't play. No, I had to.
You had the ramp. You did the step. You did the step.
Nah, heck, man. But you know who my daddy was?
Yeah, man. I had the Tetris step, man, back in the days. So, see, nowadays, we have, guys now, they're going into the barbershop, getting these fresh cuts, fresh fades and stuff. So with that in mind, this is a question that, I'm hopefully that nobody is taken aback from it. And it's just an honest question. Do we feel that with the way history has reared its head into basically our lives now, we see a lot of stuff that happened back in the days that we thought was popular or whatever, or others felt was popular, is now relevant in 2019. Do we feel, as for black men again, do we feel like history has a chance of repeating itself in full circle? Meaning, do we feel like that there's an opportunity here, especially nowadays, with a chance of slavery, lynchings? I know there have been lynchings in this decade, but do we feel like, do we think or believe that it has a chance to come back full circle in all its aspects?
Whew, that's a good question. But before I start, back to the last question. First off, I think that I think one of the unresolved questions is how does a teacher maintain control of the classroom at that moment that there's a disturbance? That's what I wanted to also bring up. Like, how can a teacher, control the class? 2 kids are in there. What are her options if she can't discipline them? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the unresolved issues. But going to the current question, man, that's a good question. I think your example of using fashion, I think that's an aspect that doesn't carry as great of a moral and personal weight as some other topics that you had mentioned, like slavery or lynchings. Do I think that history has a chance of repeating itself? I think that all things are possible. I don't believe that we'll see shadow slavery in its exact form, but I think we'll see an iteration of it. And I think some will argue that forced labor has reincarnated as mass incarceration. I don't think we'll see another Adolf Hitler and the slaughter of Jews that we saw. But, I think we could see a current xenophobia and a current Islamophobia that will cause countries to start repressing and starting to segregate, criminalize certain religious sects, like those who believe in Islam or Muslims. I'm not exactly sure, so forgive me if I'm using the terminology incorrectly. So I do believe that we can see history, and again, it'll in certain iterations, an exact replica. I don't believe so. Do I believe that we'll see another stock market crash like in 1929? We haven't seen that, but we saw the housing crisis of 2007, 2008, the Wall Street crisis. After that happened, we enacted quite a bit of legislation. Barack Obama in his 2 terms, brought the economy back with the help of stimulus packages and aid packages. We know that FDR did the same thing through his public works program and in his New Deal. So I think we've seen similarities. We've seen different iterations. I think we'll see another financial crisis because we've deregulated banks. That's what the current idiot president has did. And I'm not saying that all of those regulations were valid, because some were specifically enacted for a certain period, and they were very restrictive because we had just tanked the economy and we use taxpayers' money to bail it out. So as a taxpayer, no, don't give these financial industries free reign with my money. So I was, in favor of them. And some of them, you can talk to experts and you can talk to, your local bank president. Some of them were extreme and they were like, okay, I think we're at a point now where we can slowly rescind them. So again, I'm not saying that some of them didn't need to go, but, I do believe that, we may not see an exact replica, but we can definitely see new facets or new iterations of old systems.
Okay.
Yeah, I second that. I don't think he could come back just with, going back to the technology piece, right? Social media, the uproar. I think a lot of times, I think if slavery, segregation, it survived on the control of information back in the day, and I think we're in a different age where the common person has more access to information that it just didn't have back in the day. So people, like one of the primary things when slavery was, abolished, there were some slaves that didn't know they were free for several years.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that where I think, to Brian's point, we won't see an exact replica. But there's still forms, not in our country, there's forms of slavery still happening in the world right now. So it isn't far-fetched. In some parts of Africa, it's happening right now. So, we need to... it's something to be cautious about. Something to, I think minus this current presidency, I think we, with Obama, I think we're making strides in just having the conversations about, just the fact that President Barack Obama became president was showing that, we're in the right direction to never revisit those things from the past. So I think, as a country with this whole mindset, of being more open, being more liberal, I think, that's not a direction that we will go. We're not going to just I don't think we would just go and just flip and be ultra conservative again. So I don't think the natural way that the country is going right now, I don't think it's going to go in that direction. But like I said, like Brian said, really, anything can happen. So it's not to say it would never happen, but I just don't think it's a reality. Just the way that the direction the country is going in, and the world for that matter. It's just an ultra sensitivity to freedom and having a right to choose, having a right to have your own opinion, having a right to speech, all of those aspects. So, unless all of a sudden there's, what I'm really trying to say, it wouldn't be met. It would be met with a whole lot of resistance. So I don't think it would be able to strive. Like it almost has to be resetting of the whole country.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of people would die. Well, hundreds of millions? There's hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah, there's
okay.
There's 300 plus million here.
So you know what I'm saying?
Or in the United States.
Everybody just kill each other. Then it'd be like, okay, whoever's left, now you started.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be people that's just willingly going into it. But other forms of it, like Brian said, other forms of it through mass incarceration and different. So it wouldn't never be the same version of it, but a different form of it could possibly happen. We got to be cautious of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, slavery won't happen again.
Okay, well, way to go in depth there, buddy.
I mean, I could talk and talk, but it won't happen again. Slavery was mainly took place because of us not knowing when we came over here from Africa what we were doing. We weren't organized. They came and took us from our homes and took us to a place that we didn't know, and then they just started trafficking us like they owned us. And in many cases, we developed the mindset that we were a piece of property. There's no way that could be taken from us right now. Like Bishop Hilliard has the saying, once your mind's been expanded, it can't ever shrink back. So we will never be able to, as far as African Americans, never be able to shrink back, especially being in America now. Like America then was undiscovered. It wasn't the land of the free, the home of the brave, as far as the sentiment for what we were supposed to be. And now we just have this expectation, right? We have this entitlement. Like, can you imagine someone even telling you to do something else? Like, and honestly, America's workforce would break. Black America really. And minorities, and how much we feel the workplace on the worker level. If we just say no, what you gonna do? Like, I mean, it's pretty much impossible. However, I do believe that issues will continue to rise in the fall as they have in the past. Stock prices will go up, things will come down. There will be a crisis that occurs once again, a financial crisis that causes people to want to, lose but they would cause them to lose millions and millions of dollars. There will be some type of form of, we already have it right now. We have a form of slavery right now, because what is slavery? Like really labor for nothing, right? Like pennies on a dollar. Well, it's offshoring or outsourcing. That's happening right now. We're employing people in India and in these countries
sweatshops
for really, really pennies on the dollar, not really caring about their well-being and what they get. So it's going to exist. It's going to rise in the fall. I think that as long as we have the mindset of what we're trying to do, and that we are not trying to make, as we fight for equality for all people, we are not trying to get in the role of the oppressor. We will be fine. We will avoid a civil war. Civil war won't happen unless we decide that that's going to happen, because there are too many liberal white people now. Yeah, so we know in the popular election that President Trump lost the popular vote. That means that there are literally more people who are against what he was trying to promote than were for it. So the goal here is to understand that just off a number standpoint, like Cleet mentioned, it would have to take like a complete annihilation of the United States and then a rebirthing for people who didn't know anything from before. It's kind of the concept of Avengers when Thanos realized, he was like, I can't snap away half of society because you still remember. I got to get rid of everything so you don't remember and you do what I want you to do. So, in conclusion, it won't ever happen again, and praise God for that.
I don't know, man. I don't believe... Well, let me start by saying it's important that we delineate chattel slavery in Europe and America as opposed to other forms of slavery, because chattel slavery was an institution that was unique to America and Europe. The level of horrific inhumanity that was shown towards slaves was unprecedented. Slavery in other forms throughout the world were not as horrific. you could be freed after 7 years, and that's even biblically. At the year of Jubilee, you free your slaves. So this was very unique. Again, I don't believe that we'll see it in its exact form.
Yeah.
I believe now, like Cleet was alluding to, we have access to more information, but the issue with that is, are we recalling history accurately? We've got this thing to where we now romanticize history, and we do that to justify our current positions. So we'll say slavery wasn't that bad. Slaves were happy. They were better off back then than they are now. I've heard that echoed in 2019.
That is stupid.
That's this romanticized and really fake history that people are creating to substantiate their position.
Yeah.
And so while we have information, it's important that information is delineated accurately, and you have voices that are that will resound truth in the face of those contradictory statements. Like I said, Trump's campaign, and I said this when he was campaigning, this was literally an iteration of the 1980 campaign that the senator ran in Alabama. He ran on the exact same platform, and it was funny. One of the campaign advisors came out and said, "Yeah, we did this back in 1980. We did the exact same thing. It didn't work in Alabama in 1980, but it worked in America in 2016."
Yeah.
So there we've got to be conscious and not just say it would have never happen again. No, it's possible that it could. Might not be in the exact same form, but there is always a possibility. And what's important is that we never allow a false narrative to go forth, because that's what will be promoted. Like, you can never say we'll never have another Holocaust. One thing that I really do appreciate in Germany is that there is a lasting memory of the horrific nature of the Holocaust. You can still go there and go to internment camps. Whereas you come down here in the South, you go to slave plantation, and you got these happy, joyful people.
Yeah.
They're looked as historical places that you can go look at the architecture. This place is beautiful. Look at the architecture of the time. Yeah. And, I'm like, wait a minute. We are celebrating this place that was the place of travesties that were unheard of. In the modern world. So, these are all aspects that we've got to remain aware of and remain conscious of. Yeah. That's my take on it.
I love these conversations, fellas, man. I really appreciate the insight. It's really good that, we as Americans overall, Black Americans, whatever you want to call yourself, we should be sitting down and having these conversations amongst ourselves, even if you got white friends, don't feel like you can't talk to them about it. Be willing to, share your opinion, and you might learn something. And we're going to leave it at that, though, because we can go on and on for days, and the batteries that I keep buying, they keep dying on our recording machine that we have here. So that's my fault. But either way.
Keep the show going. Supplies with some
taking battery contributions.
We're taking battery donations. But either way, man, we appreciate y'all listening. From me, my boy Diddy Rowe, my boy Cleet the Geek, and my boy G Dub. We out.